I was tall, so I could make some money. So I could make some money and, buy my own clothes and buy a car. Ultimately, that was, I wanted freedom, but, maybe some of you had it harder than we did. I know that I wanted more. And luckily my mom had an incredible work ethic. Like I said, she babysat kids and she invested in the stock market successfully, did IPOs, but she started investing in real estate. So the first investment in real estate was a house directly across the street from us. Bought it from a family named the Jewels, and she paid about 30 grand when I was 14. When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm not going to college. I'm going to get into real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18, which you could do back then with education. I mean, I was a broker. I could have my own office. Now they got smart and you need some experience before you can be a broker. But, I was going to be rich selling real estate. Well, my first year I made about 8 grand, 1978. In the second year, maybe 10 to 12 grand. But my third year I made over 100 grand. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy, I was dating his daughter actually. And he taught me about the power of mindset and psychology and how your success in anything, 80 to 90% of it is your mindset and your psychology. Only 10 to 20%, the real estate stuff or the entrepreneurship or the vehicle, as it were. If it was just knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there. It's the do and it's the keep doing. And, fast forward to today, I've owned a couple thousand houses that I rented long-term. I've owned thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you're thinking, wow. And I thought, wow. And I thought I was a freaking god, real estate god, that is, that I could do no wrong. And I got a head so big, I could barely fit it through the door. And when that happens, God or the universe or whatever you believe occasionally can give you a smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so, one of the things I'm really known for is the mindset and psychology it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. But maybe as important or more important is the mindset and psychology it took to recover from losing that. And so, one of the things we do, the first things we do at my boot camps is for the first hour and a half is we do goals. Because, like Napoleon Hill says in the book, Think and Grow Rich, you need a burning desire to go do anything, to push through fear, to push through limiting beliefs, to get outside comfort. Comfort zone's a warm place and nothing freaking grows there, right? And so you got to have that burning desire to push out of that. And so we do goals. I mean, if you don't know what you want, how the heck are you ever going to get it? And so, and by the way, it's short notice, but I've actually got a boot camp in 2 weeks. And in my first live boot camp since COVID hit, I was supposed to have 800 people in Orlando right before COVID hit. We were freaking out. And so I went virtual and I built a video studio here at my compound. And we've had thousands of people come to my virtual, but it's so awesome to have a live event. We'll be in about, I think we're pushing 700 people there in 2 weeks in Orlando. And I'll give you guys an awesome deal if you can make it. I'll give you a phenomenal deal. The price is $600 now, and I'll give you a code if you want it. You can come for $200. But anyway, so the first thing we do is goals. And that's, people ask me, how did you recover from losing $50 million? Well, that's one of the ways is I reassociated with what I wanted and why I wanted it. It's human nature to focus on the negative. And I could have let that, that 50 million thing be my story and my identity. And for a while it was, I'll be honest, for a few months, I was in my pity party. Goals is the first piece. The second piece is, peer group. And I'm going to tell you that, who you hang out with is who you become. And if you show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are because you're them. Okay. And so, luckily I was in a pretty incredible peer group. I had joined Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, and it's a mastermind. And back then it was, it wasn't huge like it is now. There were about 70 people, but I was around people that were killing it in the crash. Okay. I mean, they were thriving. And, and that's the power of a mastermind. I also host a mastermind as well. I'm pretty sure it's the largest one in the country. It's called the Multifamily Boardroom. It's about 14 billion in assets in there. And my coaching students, warriors, that's where they aspire to go, once they've got a few hundred doors. And we've got quite a few of them in there, but the mastermind is so freaking powerful because, you want to be around like this group here. You want to be around people that think what you think is hard is easy. Right. And that's why I started it. Anyway, I was around people who were like, oh, quit whining, pick your ass up, 50 million, schmillion, whatever, get up, go make it happen, quit whining. And So and again, you want to be around people that will push you and inspire you. And that's one of the amazing things in my, in the Warrior program that we have, where I think we just broke 48,000 minutes. And I've been teaching less than 4 years. I'm super proud of that, my Warriors. But we had an incredible last couple of weeks. I was going through the Facebook and there were, I don't know, it's about 1,000 units there just in 2 weeks. But anyway, the sad thing is so many people default to the people they went to school with as peers or the people they work with, and they don't proactively choose their peers. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes, those peers like that could be afraid of your success or jealous of your success, or, try to diminish your desire for success. And sometimes it's family. And so I tell you, love your family, choose your peers proactively, right? And be careful about that. Get around people that want more out of life. Rising tide lifts all ships. Like I said, like this group that you're in right here, which is fantastic. Get around people that think what you think is hard is easy. Again, if you're, for example, as an example, if you're going to play tennis, do you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you? Obviously, better. And it's the same thing in this business and any business for that matter. But you want people that will validate you, encourage you, motivate you. And that's why, we just had our Warrior coaching call. And so that's top of mind for me. And so, it's so inspiring where people are posting and lifting each other up. There's none of that jealousy. So just be very careful with your peer group. The next thing that's super important. I mean, if you're on this call, you're a leader. And right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders. And so, and as a leader, you have to watch your focus. I mean, don't get me started on the freaking fake news and all the crap politically right now. It's just so important to stand guard at your mind and not bring that stuff in, because whatever you focus on, both positive or negative, is going to get larger. Right. And so, if you focus on that crap, that's going to get bigger. And I did for a while. I'll tell you, my blood pressure went up 20 points watching that crap online, on the news. And so I just literally had to shut it off. I had to, look in the mirror and eat my own cooking. But it's so important that you stand guard at your mind. My podcast, I do these clips called Own Your Power, and they're motivational clips. And I think that's probably the biggest reason my podcast has been such a success. I'm blessed to say it's the largest commercial real estate podcast in the world. And we're about to hit 12 million downloads. And I'm pretty sure it's because of that motivational content. So I don't know if you listen to it or not. If you don't, I hope you do. Even if you just listen to those clips, I'll juice you once a week. But even if it's not me, go on YouTube, bring in that stuff, bring in the motivational stuff, soldiers coming home, that cool stuff like that, instead of, the negativity. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, "No, I'm pro-peace." It's pretty much the same thing, but it's not. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. Now, back to focus for a minute. I remember back in the late 80s, I had a bunch of different businesses. So I've built, and please know, all this stuff I'm sharing with you, I'm not trying to brag. I have no reason to try to impress you. I'm giving you facts. And if I inspire you, that's my goal, period. Okay. So please know that. So back then I built 27 businesses so far in my career, and I don't call them failures when they fail. I call them seminars. Okay. And I will tell you, out of those 27, several have been worth tens of millions of dollars. Most have been spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. And we failed our way to success. I'll talk about failure a little more in a minute, but I remember back then I had yogurt shops. I had 2 frozen yogurt shops. I had vending carts selling ice cream bars down at downtown Denver. I had a carpet cleaning business. I was flipping houses and buying houses, and everything suffered because my focus was diluted. And I got rid of everything except the houses, and I bought 500 houses in that run. Okay. Focus is power. And you'll typically, because I was late when I got your text, I'm like, holy shit, I forgot, and so I didn't change. But typically I'll have a black V-neck shirt on. This thing's got holes in it, because I was watching a movie, again, trying to decompress with all the crap going on right now. But typically you'll see me in a black V-neck t-shirt, and I've got 100 of them. So I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear if I'm presenting. If you come see me in Orlando, I will be in a black V-neck the whole weekend. Okay. Only time I'm not is when I'm comfortable, when I'm in one of these shirts that that you wear, that's, again, got holes. You can see the holes in here. It's got holes in it because it's so comfortable. But typically I'll wear a black V-neck, so I don't have to think about it. I don't want decision fatigue. Okay. And so many of us, myself included, will be sitting there watching a movie and we're scrolling through social media. And here's what's wrong with that. Your brain is making these little micro decisions, literally in split seconds. And what does that hurt? your focus. And the most successful, wealthiest people on the planet are the most focused. Okay. In fact, I'll give you an example of this. I get excited about my 12 million downloads. I listen to Tim Ferriss, and he gets that about a week. Okay. Tim Ferriss's podcast. I think he's one of the largest, if not the largest podcast out there, next with Joe Rogan and them. But Tim Ferriss, what he does is he interviews the best of the best in every walk of life. So he's had the best actors, Arnold, Jamie Foxx, Ed Norton, just really good actors, world class. He's the best athletes, Michael Phelps, Michael Jordan, the biggest CEOs on the planet. He's had billionaires like Ray Dalio. And what he does is he deconstructs that success, and he asks very thought-provoking questions. It's an awesome podcast. But I started to hear a pattern. Most of them meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So anyway, that's focus. All right. The next thing I want to mention, and it really applies to what we're doing here, which is multifamily real estate, is because it's a team sport, it is cool that you play to your strengths. Okay. So many people are taught to build your weaknesses. Screw that. In this business, you play to your strengths. Why? Because your strengths are your greatest assets. Okay, don't try to maximize your weaknesses. Hire a line or partner for your weaknesses in this business. You're going to get success much, much faster if everybody's playing with what they're great at. Okay, because when you love what you do, success is inevitable. And so great examples of this, I see it in this business all the time, is you'll get an analytical person with them that may be a little more introverted with an outgoing person that's more extroverted. And I see these partnerships. That's my partnership. I've seen it all the time. It's very, very common that two people like that get together. And when you're playing to your strengths, well, let me back up for a minute. To figure out what your strengths are, if you're not sure, strengths and weaknesses, you can do a Myers-Briggs profile. You can do what's called a DISC profile, DISC. Tony Robbins has a free one of those on his website. Ask your friends. They'll tell you. They'll certainly tell you what your weaknesses are, but they'll tell you what your strengths are as well. And so if you are playing in your strengths, you're doing what you love. And to influence people, the more passion you have, the easier it is to influence. The more they want to be around you, and they're influenced by you. And the only way that's going to happen is if you're doing what you love. Okay, because that passion equals that ability to influence. And so what I would tell you is, if you don't love this multifamily game yet, you can learn to love anything. Okay. So just know that you can learn to love it by associating pleasure with it. I tell my students, equate it to hunting for buried treasure. Okay. You can absolutely do that. But if you can't make it work, I believe you can learn to love anything. I've learned to love exercise and whatnot. I truly believe you can, but if you can't trick yourself to love this business, for God's sakes, go do something else. Life is too freaking short. Okay. And so, you want to love it so that you're passionate about it, because, that passion equals success. It equals your ability to influence. And, so discover what juices you and inspires you, and do that. Passion also breeds creativity and innovation, and, greatly minimizes, if not eliminates, fear. So again, operate from your passion. Another thing let's chat about is, these habits for success. Okay. So many of us kind of live life through a trance. Okay. And a great example of habits for success would be around your health. Okay. What you eat and exercise and all that stuff. But, you want to consciously take a look at your habits, take a look and develop success-driven habits, like, doing your goals regularly, like having a morning ritual. I interviewed Hal Elrod that wrote the Miracle Morning on my show, having that process in the morning, having, a morning routine that serves you and pumps you up and gets you rolling like that. Success habits would be, again, focusing on your goals, aligning with them regularly, focused on results instead of busy work, being relationship and team driven. Of course, staying healthy. If you're doing this on the side, you've got a W-2 or a business that you're running, and you've got a family, that takes incredible energy. And I've got students that have, retired from very well paying full-time W-2 jobs, and they did it on the side. You can absolutely do it, but you better be managing your energy, right? And the only way to manage your energy is your health. Sorry, that was my ex-wife who's with my daughter. So just forgive me. I'll be interrupted a couple of times. But anyway, okay. Yeah. So just pay attention to that, and give that effort, because it's going to be very hard for you to really maximize this side hustle if you're doing it as a side hustle, if you don't give it everything, if you're not watching your diet, if you're not exercising, if you're not drinking a lot of water, and taking care of yourself. All right. And of course, a success habit would be incredible discipline, just disciplining yourself. And setting times for yourself. One of the things I teach in my boot camps is this planning process, which is really very, very powerful. It's how I manage a couple of large companies at the same time. And it involves, blocking time, for example, and being disciplined about that. And sometimes even blocking time for your family, blocking time for what's most important. One of my greatest regrets in life was coming home to my kids. I built this $8 million house on the beach, this mansion, this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. And I'd come home and play with them, but I wasn't there. I was distracted. I wasn't there mentally. It's the greatest regret to this day in my life. My kids will tell you I was a great dad, but I didn't live up to my own expectations. And I don't want that for anybody that works with me. And so I spend a lot of time on paying attention to what matters the most. All right. The next thing let's talk about is tenacity. Okay. I remember when I lost everything in 2008, I started this litigation support company, and we were helping families save their homes. And we helped thousands of families save their homes. I built law firms in 5 states, and this was a business model nobody had ever done before. But in 2010, it almost went bankrupt. And I had to innovate, just like I had to innovate and pivot with COVID, and put everybody to virtual instead of live. And that's why I'm so excited to freaking have this event in a couple of weeks, because those virtual events, let me tell you, there's no energy. I got my poker face freaking videographer, but at a live event, I got all that love and positive excitement and smiling and energy. And it's just, I'm really looking forward to it. It's brutal because it's me for 3 days, but I freaking love it. Anyway, but you got to have tenacity, and that litigation support company, it almost bankrupted, and I innovated and I pivoted, and it turned into a $10 million company that I sold a few years ago. So have tenacity. You've heard that book, 3 Feet from the Gold, about a miner that gave up on a mine and he was 3 feet from a gold vein. Tenacity beats talent almost all the time. Tenacity is probably one of the most important components to success, because success is not a straight line. Here's a success formula. Okay. This is a success formula. Know your outcome, your goal. Okay. And if you hit a wall, you change your approach, keeping your eye focused on that outcome, and you change your approach. And if that doesn't work, you hit another wall, you change your approach, and you can guess what happens after that. If you hit another wall, you change your approach, but you keep your eye on that outcome. That's a success formula, and it's never a straight line. Okay. But you can't give up. You've got to have that courage, that strength of character, that strength of will, that resolve, that backbone, that fortitude. You never give up. In fact, I've got this sign on my desk from Winston Churchill. If you can see that, never, ever, ever give up, baby. Okay. That's from World War II. Okay. He's got a lot of awesome quotes, but that's certainly one of them. Just never give up. Grit is recognizing, this tenacity or grit is recognizing that every setback and every, failure is nothing but feedback. Okay. And so let's talk about failure for a minute. Again, I told you I've had 27 businesses. Most were spectacular, flaming failures, seminars, but they're only a failure if you don't learn or you don't get the lesson, right? We fail our way to success. Problems and failures are a freaking gift. If I hadn't had what happened to me with all these different business strategies I tried, that 2008 crash, first of all, I never would have met my wife. By the way, life is about meaning. Okay. You can have something super negative happen to you, but you can choose to put a positive meaning on it. 2 people can have the same outwardly perceived horrific experience, and one could come out stronger and one could come out destroyed. So my meaning with my $50 million seminars, I never would have met my wife. And if you've met my wife, she's supermodel beautiful, and she's more beautiful on the inside than the outside. And I thank God every day for her. And so, that's my meaning. So just remember that you can decide the meaning you put on something. But again, don't fear failure, for God's sakes. Fear regret. Fear being in the same place a year from now, unless you freaking love where you are right now. Okay. And so just remember, problems and they're learning opportunities. That's how you grow. If you're not having any problems, frankly, you're probably not really trying anything. Okay. And so, what we seek though, what we work towards is better quality problems. Okay. Like I'm a little concerned that I think at this boot camp, I might be low on coaches. So, I'm going to be looking for some more coaches, and that's a problem, but it's a freaking quality problem, right? That's so we want to seek better quality problems. We don't want to not have problems, but we want to seek better quality problems. Couple more things I'll mention here. One is making sure you're clear on your identity. One of the things we do at our events is an identity statement. Okay. It's very, very powerful. And in fact, let me show you something here on my wall. You can see statements. I am success. I am the best in the world at what I do. I'm a business genius. Okay. Those aren't like, that's not ego. Those are what things I'm aspiring to be, right? And I've got, I am health and energy. I'm courage, determination, and focus. And I will yell that stuff at the top of my lungs in my exercise room. I used to do it running down the street. Yep. Neighbors and everything. In fact, if my kids at my events, they usually help me. And that's the question they get most often. Does he really do that shit? Yes, he really does that shit. He did growing up. And why? Because it works. Anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. Is there no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves? So, if there's an area of your life that you need to shore up, like, if I'm having some stress, which is the achiever's word for fear. If I'm having some fear, I might yell, I am courage, and do it, 500 times with every ounce of my being. And it just gets in the fiber of your being. Okay. So affirmations are super powerful. So now let's talk about what I believe to be the most important emotion we have in our lives. And that's gratitude. In fact, we do a whole gratitude thing on the first day of the boot camp, and most people cry. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's very, very powerful. I got it from Tony Robbins. It's fantastic. But gratitude makes us stronger when we face adversity. It strengthens our immune system. It makes our heart stronger, improves our blood pressure, lowers it, brings us closer to our spirituality. And I'm going to tell you, those of you guys that are parents, if you're not journaling some grateful moments and some magic moments right now, big mistake, my friends, because I did that with my kids, and I wish I'd have done it a lot more, but I have a few journals, and they came over and we read some of this stuff, and we laughed, and she cried, and it was just freaking beautiful. And here's another tip. If you want to score huge points, if you're in a relationship, I did a gratitude journal for Tiffy. It was 100 pages of leather-bound journal. Every day I filled up a page with what I loved about her. Okay. And there were days I didn't freaking want to write in that thing because I was pissed at her or something. But you can imagine how I showed up in the relationship. I mean, I was focused on what I loved about her. So, I mean, it massively helped how I showed up. And I gave it to her for her birthday. So, I mean, it was a pretty big deal. So there's a tip if you ever want to really do something cool. But, if you ask Tiffy what my purpose in life is, she'll tell you it's to make her happy. And if she's pissed at me, I remind her of my purpose in life. But it's true. I know this is a real estate show, but why not a little relationship advice here? When you live to serve each other, that's a world-class freaking relationship, guys. And that's what we do. We literally live to serve each other. And it's an amazing love story. And it's because of that. And so, again, gratitude. Last thing I'll mention, I mentioned that $8 million house I built on the beach. When I immigrated this country, I didn't speak English, and I got thrown into school, and I found out what bullies were for the first time. And so I didn't know how to fight back yet. I wish one would come up to me now, but that was back then. And so, I got my butt kicked regularly. And then, my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school and show and tell in wooden shoes and those leather shorts the Germans wore for Oktoberfest, lederhosen. And I got my butt kicked again. And then they would chase me home, the bullies. And she literally, this is not an exaggeration. She would chase them off with a fly swatter. Next day, of course, I got my ass kicked again. And, that coupled with this incident I had on a playground with this girl I had a crush on, embarrassed me in front of a bunch of other kids, caused me to come up with this belief that I wasn't good enough. In fact, I discovered that the question I was asking myself subconsciously was, how can I show them I'm good enough? And so, I worked for 20 years And by the way, we all have these limiting beliefs. Well, we don't all, but many of us have limiting belief systems like that. I'm not old enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not analytical enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. You know, they're just stories, or they're limiting belief systems. And there's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are just that. They're BS. We had some emotional experience when we were young that we put some emotion to, and our brains thought that it was factual, and it's not. And so if you have something like that, you're not good enough, or, whatever, you feel that way, bring it out into the daylight consciously when it rears its head. Okay. If you feel it coming on, pull it out, look at it rationally and consciously, and recognize that it's BS, and you'll start to diminish it. I mean, I used to be so incredibly introverted. Well, really, that wasn't what it was. It was just afraid of being humiliated. And so I'd never raise my hand in class. I'd never raised my hand in a room of people ever. I mean, I was terrified of that. But I started doing what I'm just describing, recognizing that anybody that rejected me either didn't know me, or they had their own crap going on, and that I'm a gift from God, and I've got a huge heart, and I care about people. And again, if somebody rejected me, that's them, it's not me. But it took some conscious effort to do that. And now, of course, I speak in front of thousands of people a year, and I've no issue with any of that. But if you have something like that, again, bring it out in the daylight consciously, look at it, and recognize that it's BS. So anyway, back to that house I built on the beach. So I lived in Denver, and one of the goals I set for myself when I was 18 was that I wanted to live on the beach. So I'd visualize this beach. In fact, usually I have a different backdrop. That's actually the pool for the house right behind me here, because I somehow my Zoom screwed up and I don't have my normal backdrop picture. But let me describe this house I built. 20 years later, I built this house on the beach, $8 million, 10,000 square foot home. You can see there was a 12-foot wide waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. Pool was in magazines. I had these trees, that bent out over. You can see the trees there. And I worked for it for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, 2 months, worked for it for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in this thing. It's changed. It's nighttime. It's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. It was really cool. And I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. I built it to prove to the world I was good enough. And I got depressed. And I don't mean just a little depressed. I mean, I was freaking bummed. And I'm like, what the hell? I've just achieved success like times 1,000. I had the Maserati in the garage. I had 2 Mercedes, had the $100,000 boat, the jet skis. I mean, all this stuff. And this incredible home. I mean, just to describe this home a little further, okay, I mean, elevator, wine cellar, beach on one side, boathouses on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. I own both sides with water. There was a spiral staircase up through the middle, giant spiral staircase, had incredible hand-carved iron around it. On the second floor, there was aquariums that I put around the staircase, cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. So I'm floating in the pool and I'm depressed, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so I realized there were a few things going on, and I went out and bought some books, by the way. I got Dale Carnegie and Zig Ziglar, and I got a Tony Robbins book, and I really like Tony's book. But there were several things happening, and one is it relates to goals. I didn't, it's like I achieved this massive goal, and I was like, what am I going to do now? Because it's never about the goal, but you got to have a vision for the future. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? And so, that was one thing. The second thing is, again, it's never about the goals. You need the goals, but remember, the happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day they buy the boat and the day they sell it, right? It's never about the goals. You need them. You need that burning desire. You got to have that push. Well, I'll put a plug in for that in a minute, because I've got an awesome deal for you guys. But again, if you can't make it, I can share a link with you. If you DM me on social, I can share a link with you where I did it on January 2nd with music, and you've got this guide you can download, and I'll guide you through. It's really cool. You and your spouse can do it, or if you've got a teenage kid, it's all to have them do this goal setting workshop. But anyway, happiness doesn't come from the goals. Happiness comes from progress and growth. And again, I didn't know what I was going to do to grow or progress at that point either. Okay. You need the goals, but it's really never about that. It's about who you become on your path to the goals. But the big thing that was going on is I was totally focused on me. Rod, show the world I'm good enough, show the world I matter. And again, I was impressed with Tony's book. So I went and saw him speak, and I actually spent the next 20 years after that following him around the planet, just because I love his technology. If you have an opportunity to see him, just do it. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. But so I found out that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept, do something for someone else. I mean, I'm embarrassed I had to be 40 to get that memo. But so I called my brother in Denver, my brother Ed, and I was going there for Thanksgiving to see him and my family. And I said, dude, let's feed 5 families. He's like, okay. And so I said, he went to his church and found 5 families that really needed help. And the 3rd family changed my life. So we get up to this house, and we bought toys for the kids. We bought frozen turkeys. We had a lot of fun buying this stuff, and we had boxes of food. And we get on this porch, and this woman lived in this crappy 1-bedroom. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom, with 5 kids. And she comes out, she sees the food, she starts crying, and her kids start coming out, and the older ones start crying. And then I start crying. I'm like, man, I'm hooked. Next year, I fed 50 families, literally 150 kids. After that, I doubled it every year. And I've now blessed to say I've fed over 110,000 kids for the holidays. And I don't say this to brag. There's a message here, so wait for it. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids that don't have the basic supplies they need for school. Done tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in vehicles they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And here's the thing, guys. I was successful, but I was unfulfilled. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement is a science, okay? Like if you want to learn multifamily, come to my freaking boot camp. We'll give you the play-by-play. You just got to do it. The map is there. There's no secret sauce. You just do the blueprint, you do the map, and you'll be successful, period. So it's a science, but fulfillment is an art, because what you've got to do is you've got to discover what juices you and give back to that in some fashion. And so I don't care, I don't care if it's children like me or the elderly or the environment or animals, whatever juices you. If you're not already giving back to it, do it right now. And you might be saying to yourself, yeah, I'll do it when I have money. No, big mistake. Because if you do it right now, you'll have the money faster. Okay. We've been, that's the way God of the universe works. See, whatever you give, you get back 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Even if you don't have the money, give time. Okay. But trust me on this. We've been taught to achieve, to be happy. Like we can't be happy until we've achieved, right? Big mistake. Happily achieve. You happily achieve if you're giving back. Okay. So anyway, I formed a foundation. I feed one family for every person that comes to my boot camp. So I pay all the operational expenses and then some, but I'll throw my website in here. If you guys feel so inclined to throw a couple bucks at it, I'd be super grateful. Like I said, every dime and then some goes to food. It's tinyhandsfoundation.org, $22 feeds a family. But my boot camp, now, if you can make it, even if you can't, wait till you hear what you get with it. I'll give you a code so you can come for $197. But if you can't make the live one, I will do a virtual one in March. But here's what you get with this code, and use the code RODFRIEND. Just remember RODFRIEND. But you'll get my Courage and Confidence course. It's 8 modules. I just finished it. It is kick-ass. It's about building your courage and confidence so you take action with what you learn. You get my Finding Deals course, which is the hardest thing in this market, is finding deals. And you get my my best-selling book, #1 bestseller. You get it in PDF and Audible as well. And so, hell, the bonuses are worth more than 10 times what the price is for the ticket. And, Noel, you've been to my boot camp. Some of you other guys have as well. It's not a big sales pitch. I talk about my coaching for maybe 30 minutes, and that's it. The rest of the time's all content. I've never had a complaint other than the room's too cold or the food sucked or something like that. It's never about the content. But here, let me put the website in here. You guys can make it. I promise you'll be glad you came. If you come up to me on Sunday and you tell me you didn't love it, I don't mean like it, I mean freaking love it, I'll give you your money back. No problem. Rod Friend. Yeah, there's the website. And if you go to the bottom of the website, you'll see hundreds of testimonials. But I mean, no, you could talk about, or Chase, you guys could talk about the experience obviously as well. But anyway, I'm happy to take some questions. We didn't really talk multifamily, but we certainly can if you want.
Hey, yeah, Rod, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on, and it's awesome seeing you again. And yeah, it is, for those of you who haven't been to Rod's boot camp, which I know several of us on here have, some have not, but it's just such an awesome experience. The networking, the professional growth, the motivation. So it's awesome. It is awesome.
I appreciate it, buddy.
And on that, Ron, how many, you probably can't count them all. How many people throughout the process of you succeeding, failing, let's just go back. How many people after 2008, 2009, where you lost roughly $50 million? How many people told you said you're
conservatively, actually? Yeah.
Said, how many people told you that you're crack if you want to get back into real estate, and told you were nuts?
Well, back then when the blood was running in the streets, fear was rampant. I mean, the news would say, it's never coming back. It's going to be 10 years or more before it comes back. And by the way, guys, on that note, Tom, I'm really glad you said something. There's a contraction coming at some point, guys. Okay. This administration is hell bent on it, in my opinion. They're trying to take away the 30 exchange, capital gains is getting raised, and that's going to impact commercial real estate. There's going to be a pullback. I'm just telling you. Now, it's not something to fear. It's something to get ready for. I'm getting in a lot of cash right now, and the ability to raise cash as well, because cash is king in a crisis. With crisis, though, comes opportunity. So don't forget that. But I will tell you, at some point, the news will be, I can't even stand the freaking news anymore. But the news will be saying, real estate's dead. It'll never come back. And this is the kind of stuff they were saying in 08, 9, and 10. Okay. Or really 08 and 9 mostly. And guys, when that happens, be ready to pounce. Okay. Because that's when you will have exponential opportunities. I just interviewed a guy that just bought a $108 million complex in Orlando that was buying debt back in 9 and 10 at 65 cents on the dollar on big multifamily properties. Awesome interview. It'll go live Monday or a week from Monday. But anyway, the point is, with that comes opportunity. Now, I always get the question after I say that, well, should I wait to buy? No, you can look and find deals right now, but you want to be conservative. You don't be aggressive right now. Like we just closed on an asset in San Antonio, 296 units. We could break, it was 96% occupied when we got it. It's 98 now, and we've raised the rents, but we could break even day one at 58% occupied, 42% vacant. Okay, now that's conservative. Okay, plus we have 6 months operating reserves in the bank. So, be conservative right now, but there is no better time to learn this business, because if you wait until it crashes, it'll be too late. You won't be able to capitalize on it. So my point is, you guys are in the right place at the right time, because if you build the relationships now and you learn this business and you have access to money, this business takes money, but it doesn't have to be your own money either. Keep that in mind. Right. And so, I bought 2,500 doors in the last, 2.5 years, and I don't have a dime in them. Okay. And I'm the largest GP on all of them. And so, so that's the beautiful thing about this business. And so again, don't fear a contraction. Recognize real estate goes through cycles. I mean, we're so long overdue for a correction. It's crazy right now. Okay. And I've been through several of them. I'll give you a great example of one. I had this, I was doing real estate in the late 80s in Denver, and I had flipped a couple of houses, and I flipped this house on 3351. Don't put this on the internet. Well, it was on 30th Avenue. We'll leave it at that, 30th Avenue. I don't want to draw too much attention to it, but it's 3351 West 30th. Anyway, I bought it for 56, sold it for 76, made 20 grand, right? Market crashed. I bought that house back for 18. If you do Zillow on that, I think it's probably going to come in at 800 or $1 million now, gentrified. But anyway, I ended up selling it for 160, and now the area gentrified. I think it's 800 or $1 million right now. Okay, the big 2-story Victorian. And so my point is, real estate's going to go through these contractions. California's had these huge swings like that. I thought Florida, I thought Florida was recession proof. 80 million baby boomers getting old and getting cold. Well, we were ground zero. When the market crashed, I was at a 30% loan to value, and I still crashed and burned because my single family was too spread out. And for example, if I had a maintenance issue at one of my apartment complexes, everything's the same. The plumbing parts, the appliance parts, the HVAC parts, the locks, the windows, everything's the same. So you can stockpile parts, they're in and out in an hour. Well, if I had to send someone to one of my houses, even if it was local, but let's say it's an hour away, they have to go see what's wrong. Then they have to go find a Home Depot or a Lowe's where we had an account. And I don't know about you, but when Rod's happy ass tries to fix something, I go to Home Depot more than once because I forgot something. And it's the same way with maintenance guys. So, the bottom line, what took an hour at one of my apartment complexes took all day at one of my 800 C-class houses. Now, I said C-class because C-class assets are older and the demographic is much harder on the asset. So you got a lot more maintenance, and that killed me. But then the final, then a couple other things. Property tax is much higher in Florida, no state income tax, had properties in wind and flood zones, all impacts cash flow. That's why the subtitle of my book is The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, i.e. the new rules being forget equity, forget value, rather, focus on cash flow. Okay, cash flow is everything. I don't care what the property sold for 5 years ago, and you can get it for a fraction of that. Doesn't matter. Tell me what the numbers are on the returns and the cash flow. But anyway, and then like the coup de grace was, I didn't pay attention to demographics back then. If somebody had a good job and credit, I don't care where they worked. Well, most of my tenants were in retail, or they were contractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers, roofers, painters, which fell off a freaking cliff. So they didn't have work. And now I will tell you that 296 unit asset in San Antonio, I literally looked where every single person worked, and I gauged that employment for recession resistance, and thought to myself, will this person survive if there's a contraction? And enough of them I thought would, so I went forward with it. And that's one of the biggest things we look at, because the most important thing in this business is jobs. And I want to see employment diversity. I want to see employment industry diversity. I don't want to see one horse towns or just a couple of big employers. I want to see lots of diversity, and I want to see employment resistant industries. I'm sorry, recession resistant industries. Okay. So anyway, long answer, but hopefully that added a little value.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate it. And just one other quick thing. You have different people on here, some who have never even, owned anything yet. So they haven't taken any action yet. Then you have some, I know our team, we're doing well. We have others that are doing really well. If you could give one piece of advice.
Sure. I actually that
can cover the entire group.
Got it. I forgot to say it. It was on my list of things to talk about, and I forgot. Let me back up for a minute. The most successful people that I find in this business are the ones that are most analytical, and they're the hardest to get to freaking make a decision and take action, because they have to check off every little box. So if that's you listening, you know who you are. You've got to take that first step. Okay. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you've got to take that step. There's also the law of the first deal in this business. We see it in the Warrior Group. It's somebody's bitching because they don't have one in 6 months, and then it's 8 months, maybe even a year. And then they get that. And that first deal, it's always the hardest. It's the most stressful. It takes the longest. It's the scariest. And then they get it. And next thing I know, they have 6. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? You've got 6 deals, and last thing you were crying, you didn't even have one. And so here's the thing. You do not need to see the whole staircase. You do not need to know everything about this business to take action. You just need to get started. You need to find a team or build a team, play to your strengths, have someone else, align with someone for where you're not strong, but just take action. I'll tell you some of the best deals we've gotten. We've had 24 hours to make a decision. There was an asset in South Carolina that we found out about it on Labor Day, and Robert negotiated it over Labor Day. It was Labor Day, and literally wrote the contract, and it was a screaming deal. Another asset in Dallas, 208 unit asset that we had 24 hours to put up earnest money. Did we know all the players? No. Did we know, everything about that deal? No. We had to take, a little bit of risk, but we knew enough to know it was manageable risk. But, you can't, you can drive all the way across the country at night and see 50 feet in front of you, and you can make it. Other people have made it. You may have some obstacles, but you can make it. It's the same way with this business, but you got to take that first step.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
truth.
Rod.
It's just truth. Yeah,
absolutely.
So
gold.
Anyway, all right, guys. Well, listen, I apologize that I was late. I was like really embarrassed about that. I'm super punctual.
Nope.
And so I was like, wow, I couldn't believe I did that. But anyways, great to see you guys. And awesome that you're doing what you're doing here. And the Joint Chiefs of Real Estate, freaking love it. And yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying the Navy's the best part. of that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Isn't that doesn't the Army use the Navy to get places? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
No, everybody uses the Navy for something.
Anyway, all right, guys. Well, be well, and
Yeah.
and I don't know if I've seen any of you in Orlando. I hope so, but
Yeah, you'll see three of us out there, so we're excited.
Awesome. Are you on panels?
I haven't been asked, but I would love to.
Okay, listen, you just got asked. Okay, you just got asked. So reach out to Camille and say that that I want you on a panel, because we're gonna have a lot of panels Saturday night. We run till about 9 or 10 o'clock Saturday night. We put a bar in the room.
It's a long day.
It gets pretty stupid.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So anyway, it'll be a lot of fun, and we have a lot of fun, and I'm yelling at people to shut up so everybody can hear, and it just.
You're usually yelling at the drinkers in the back.
Well, that's it. That's right. That's right. Was that you? I'm kidding. All right, guys. Well, be well.
Rod.
Thomas, good to see you. Chase,
You too.
Noel, great to see
Hey,
you.
God bless you, Rod. Thanks so
All right.
much. And your daughter's in our prayers. So
Oh, I
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
that, guys. Thank you. All right, we'll see
All
you
right.
soon. Take
You
care,
take
guys.
care.
Bye now.
awesome.
All right.
Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on tonight. Noel, I'll let you take it from here, man. You're muted.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Got some great gold nuggets out of that. I mean, that's just, he's just a wealth of knowledge and energy. And I mean, he's been a huge mentor for all of us. And, just wanted to make sure you guys got a little taste of that, and I hope some of you can make it out to Orlando, or at least to his virtual boot camp he's talking about in March. But I think he will be doing more live boot camps this coming year. So always a great time to make it out to those and network. Just the networking, the relationships you build through those live events are phenomenal. So if you ever, anytime you get a chance to go to those, jump on it. So I mean, we're at 7 o'clock. We can have a little networking questions. If you guys have questions on multifamily specifically, or anything for us, J-Core, I'll actually turn off the recording here.